When I was on vacation with my family a couple years ago in New Hampshire, we had gone hiking in the White Mountains, and on the way back in the middle of nowhere, the car overheated. So my dad and I took the water bottles that we had in the car and used the remaining water to fill up the radiator to try to get us back to this gas station we had seen by the highway. So we went back, we made our way to the gas station, and we asked this like teenage girl working the counter if they had a mechanic on site, and she said no, but her husband was a mechanic, and I was like, the girl is too young to be married, and I was like, stop judging people. So she called her husband, and he showed up like 10 minutes later, and he was this like Christian Slater looking guy from Heathers. You know, like I did not trust him immediately. He showed up in this like pickup truck with this 12-year-old kid who didn't say a word, wasn't introduced to us, nothing. And I was like, what? Like he was too young for that kid to be his kid. So I was like, and I've been living in New York at the time, so I was really suspicious of everything. Everything. Like when I moved there had been a G-train rapist. That was the nickname for the G-train rapist. That was it. It's like the G-train rapist is acted again, and you're like, oh, it's to the point. It's not a clever name. There was a guy living in Harlem who had a pet tiger and alligator on his 4th floor walk-up in this tiny apartment in Harlem. They only found out because he went to the hospital after one of them attacked him. They were like, sir, this looks like a lion bite. So like I felt like I was like trained to mistrust people. So this guy shows up, and I was like, immediately was like, I bet that, you know, Christian Slater and his teenage bride kidnapped that kid, and he's like traumatized into muteness, but is now Stockholm syndrome, so he won't tell me what happened. It's like, we should not deal with this man. So my dad lets him, you know, look under the hood, and he points out this like very obvious crack in the radiator where like steam is coming out, and the guy's like, you know, you guys aren't going to make it back. It was like 30 miles down the highway to where we were staying. And I was like, oh yeah, sure he'd say that. Sure. You know, like, I was like, we should just drive back on the highway, and if our car breaks down, we'll call AAA. Fine, done. And my dad was like, no, that's stupid. So Christian Slater was like, oh, I'll call my buddy. He's got he runs an auto body shop, and he calls, and his cell phone, by the way, is the only one that works. The 3 of us had AT&T, so you know how it is. So his buddy has the part, and the guy just hands his cell phone to my dad, and it's like, you can buy it, it's $100, just pay for it over the phone, and I'll go pick it up. It's like 4 towns over. And I was like, don't do it. Tell my dad, like, don't give a stranger your credit card number over the phone. My dad like blithely takes the stranger's cell phone to give another stranger his credit card number. And then, you know, Christian Slater and the mute kid get in the car and drive away. And I was like, well, you know, that man is obviously going to steal your credit card number. Like, by the time we get out of wherever we are, he's going to have bought, you know, a foosball table, a Ukrainian bride, and funded some arms race in Nigeria. And good luck telling Visa to refund you for that. You know, like, I was livid. And, you know, so we waited around for like an hour, and the guy actually came back, which surprised the crap out of me. But he just sort of drove up and rolled down his window and was like, I got the part. He didn't show it to us. He's like, but I can't do it here. You're going to have to follow me to my mom's house. Like, my mom's house, he clearly means kill room. Like, he already has her credit card number. Like, the only thing left is murder. Like, we're to be murdered. So my dad was like all like sunshine and trust, and we get in the car, and we start driving through the woods, like farther and farther from houses, from cell phone towers, from places people can hear you scream. And we just keep going, and it's been taking like miles, and I just started freaking out, and I was like, you guys don't understand. This is just me and my parents. And I was like, when you were young, your parents take care of you, but now you guys are old, and the responsibility is on me. When Christian Slater goes Norman Bates on you guys, I'm going to have to rescue you. Like, because we may be heading to his mom's house, but I guarantee you she is stuffed, taxidermied, in the living room. And let's just be honest, Dad might be scrappy in a fight, but Mom would be crap. Okay, she's like, I would. And I start getting her riled up too. And we were like, we should turn back, but we didn't have a GPS, so we didn't know where we were. We just kept driving and driving, and I was like, we're dehydrated, we've been hiking, we used the rest of our water, all he has to do is chain us in the backyard, and by tomorrow we'll be little raisins. Like, there's no way this can end well. But we keep driving and driving. We've gone like 10 miles. We totally could have made it home. And we get to this like driveway that he turns into, and we go up to this like adorable little like 1-story house that has these well-manicured little pan pansy, you know, flower arrangements. And I was like, this is either the most adorable old lady lives here or the creepiest psychopath ever. As soon as I'm thinking this, the door opens and this gigantic tattooed man walks outside. I was like, that's it. We're going to end up in a well in the basement of this adorable house. And the guy, this like gigantic tattoo guy, just walks over and is like, so you brought him here. And that was it. Didn't introduce himself or anything. And I was like, okay. And then Christian Slater starts taking apart our car, and I was like, there goes our getaway vehicle. Okay. And then he keeps working and working, and he kind of doesn't look like he knows exactly what he's doing. He's like taking parts out, and then putting them back in, and then taking new parts out, and like cleaning them, and putting them back in. It's taking hours, and we're just sitting there as like the sun starts going down, and mosquitoes come out and start like attacking this kid's face, and I was like, I don't think he's gonna murder us. Like, he's been working so hard, and we've had no car. We clearly could have been like chopped up and put in the floorboards by now. So, what is his end game? So he's like working and working, and the Hulk Hogan guy's just standing there watching, and like the new kid has just been staring, and it's like the creepiest situation ever. But he gets the radiator in, he starts the car, it all works. And then he turns to my dad, and my dad's like, oh, how much do I owe you? And I was like, this is where we get financially ass-raped. This is it. This is what's going to happen. And I'm standing there, like, ready to fight whatever this guy says, you know, as if that gigantic man weren't there. And this, like, Christian Slater guy turns to my dad and is like, I don't know, $30? My dad just looked at me like I was the worst. Worst human being on the planet. That radiator is still in the car that I drove across the country. It's been like over 3 years. It's been working like a dream, so I'm an asshole. And you all should trust everybody.